Morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Good morning. I have Piggy back there snoring. Hopefully she doesn't interrupt. Guess she didn't sleep well last night, huh? Good morning. I'm going to give you guys just a moment to join in. Good morning. Hi. I'm still working on my coffee today. It's been one of those mornings where it's just kind of been one thing after another, which is always good. But then it's like I catch up on my time and I'm like, oh, wow, I got to get live. I haven't finished my coffee yet. So I hope you guys are having a very productive day as I am today. Tuesdays tend to be that way. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Well, it is Tuesday, September 15th. I was just reminded that today would have been my grandmother's birthday. I can't remember if she would have been 97 or 98. She passed when she was 96, and she was Miss Minnesota 1944, and was they did an amazing video on her, and so I was able to watch that this morning as just a little reminder of our history, and as she went through what it was like at that time. Really very interesting. It's so interesting to learn from other generations. And I think that's one thing that some of our newer generations and my generation need to, spend a little bit more time doing, especially as we go through our current climate. So it's been kind of a nostalgic morning for me, certainly thinking of her today. And I am Dr. Tricia Pingle. For those of you that are new, I'm here every day, Monday through Friday around this time, talking about different health topics. And today we're actually going to talk about one that is very critical to your health, and one that is also very easy to get if you supplement it and through many foods. But offers a wealth of benefits to your health, I think often under-recognized. So I want to teach you a little bit about this amazing mineral. Has anyone guessed which one it is yet from the heading? Right, I kind of left it open to chance this morning. We're actually going to be talking about selenium. How many of you are familiar with the benefits of selenium and how involved it is in your health? Anyone? Good morning. Getting lots of good morning. All right, good morning. In general, trace minerals are very important to your health. Now, these are minerals that normally we would get from our soil, especially when we're farming on organic soil and such. However, that's not necessarily the case anymore. A lot of our foods here are processed. A lot are farmed in the same soil over and over again. And it has been pretty well documented that trace minerals are increasingly getting smaller in our food, which is unfortunate. This is one of the reasons that I take a trace mineral every single day, because it allows me to make sure that I'm getting these tiny little minerals that really, really make a difference on whether or not certain reactions move forward in your body. So we hear a lot about the big vitamins, right? We hear a lot about, vitamin C and B vitamins and, calcium and whatnot. But what these little tiny vitamins that make up our bones, our thyroid, that drive reactions in certain directions are essential. They are all cofactors in these reactions. So if you were trying to take A to B to make C, if you don't have the cofactors, C can't happen. So you can eat plenty of A and B, but if you don't have those little tiny cofactors over the arrow to drive that reaction, you're not going to get what you want. Selenium is one of those that's highly involved in this area of our body, in driving reactions in different ways. Good morning. Lots of good mornings this morning. Lots of people that take selenium. Yep, me too. I take it in the total mineral, which I was going to put on my desk, but, well, how many milligrams should you take? Kelly, we're going to talk about the RDA. I take more than the RDA. If you do your research on most selenium supplements, you will see a certain amount. I don't know if I can state it or not, though. So yes, we're going to be talking about the Brazil nut. You guys are way ahead of me here. You guys know about selenium. My goodness. There's also different types of selenium, right? Just like we talked about zinc last week and different types of zinc, there are different types of selenium. So you want to make sure that you are getting the most absorbable form. Kelly, yes, take a look on that label. In fact, let me grab one here. Okay. Yeah. That label states about the daily requirement. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about everything that it does, because it benefits anywhere from reproduction to thyroid health, to your immune system, to your skin. Okay, it's very involved in every single reaction. So let's talk about it. Now, trace minerals are not something that your body can produce on its own. So these are things that you absolutely have to supplement. Whether you do that with food, whether you do that with an actual supplement. My biggest hesitation right now is unless you're able to eat 100% local farmed organic, the trace minerals in our vegetables are getting lower and lower because the soil content is getting lower and lower. And I can't quote the exact studies right now because they're just mixed in the way back of my brain, but there were some studies I remember reviewing quite a bit when I was in medical school that looked at the components of the soil, and this was in veterinary medicine, but they looked at the components of the soil on reproduction and growth in cows, depending on which grass they ate. So they would put them in different pastures with different mineral-rich soils, and then depending on which one they ate, they would see how many birth defects or reproduction trouble that they had. And there was a very strong link to the mineral component in the grass. So not all grass was created equal, right? Same thing here. If you grow kale in multiple different plots of land, the soil matters, okay? So sometimes that's very hard to control, and that's why many times doctors such as myself may recommend that you take some sort of trace mineral, right? Just to make sure that you're getting those, particularly if you have some of the issues that trace minerals help remedy. Or assist with, like reproduction issues, immune system issues, skin, hair, nails, right? These types of things. Thyroid is a big one for selenium, particularly those of you out there with Hashimoto's. Selenium, we're going to talk about that, but selenium plays a key role in that. So it also supports DNA synthesis. So that's very important, right? If you're growing a baby or if you're repairing your own, right? So selenium's huge. The majority of the selenium that you consume is stored in your skeletal muscle, although small amounts can be found in your hair, nails, and blood as well. So the RDA says that for adults, you should have about 55 micrograms. Now, let me be clear. If you look at any selenium supplement, if you look here at the total mineral, it says MCG, not MG. Okay, huge difference here. Once again, we're talking about a trace mineral. So we're looking at micrograms, not milligrams, okay? If you take 200 milligrams or 55 milligrams, you're taking too much, okay? Micrograms is what we're looking at, okay? Now, most of the supplements will have more than 55 micrograms, most of the high quality supplements, because there is a higher dose. Now, can you get too much selenium? Yep, you can. It's difficult because in the food, how much is present in food and supplements is fairly low. So unless you're purposely overdosing it, it can be a bit difficult to get to the level of that. Can it happen? Yes. So always check with your doctor, right, on a proper amount, or follow the label instructions so that you are not taking too much, okay? We never want too much of a trace mineral. And this goes back to even the conversation we've had a couple of times I've had with a few of you over the last few weeks about calcium, right? Everyone's like, oh, calcium for bones. Well, if you get too much calcium, it's a problem, right? So same with any mineral. Your body needs just enough to do what it needs to do, okay? So the RDA for adults is 55 micrograms, pregnant women more 60 micrograms, breastfeeding 70 micrograms. I personally take more than that. And so you can follow instructions on any trace mineral label, and it's usually going to be more than that amount, but it will be within a safe amount, okay? Now, foods. What foods have the most selenium? One of you already called me out. You beat my surprise. The best food to get selenium is, drum roll, Brazil nuts. Those big honkin' nuts that come in the trail mix, Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts contain the most selenium by far. An ounce of Brazil nuts, which is 6 to 8 Brazil nuts, contain 544 micrograms per serving. Now, I just sat here and told you that per day, the RDA says you should have 55 micrograms. Well, if you eat 6 to 8 nuts a day, you can have 544 micrograms, which, by the way, is still okay. But just letting you know, Brazil nuts, hands down the best one. Now, if you go and you search selenium-rich foods, most of the times it will come up with animal products. You'll see a lot with fish, shellfish, ham, beef, and poultry, okay? Not that those aren't sources of selenium, they are, but as you guys know me, I don't usually lean towards getting my minerals from meats because there are so many other aspects of your health you have to think about with that. Are they inflammatory? Are you overweight? How do you digest them? You know, so I like to lean towards the plants when it comes to getting your mineral components. So let's talk about some of the plant-based sources outside of Brazil nuts. Cool? So, Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, cashews, lentils, and brown rice. So, if you're adding different types of seeds, nuts, legumes to your meals, you will likely get enough selenium. If you're someone that has conditions that are affected by low selenium levels, Brazil nuts would be a great snack for you to work in as well. Okay? So, once again, 6 to 8 Brazil nuts contains 10 times the amount of the RDA recommended. It's pretty cool. All in a nut. For those of you allergic to nuts, I'm so sorry. You'll have to lean more towards the sunflower seeds and lentils and brown rice. And, you know, for those of you that eat some fish and shellfish, you can get some there as well. Now, I will say, depending on the source of the seafood, there's a lot of toxins in many of our sea life, unfortunately, right now, and that can block mineral absorption. So any sort of toxin will actually block the cells from absorbing minerals. So sometimes that can backfire on you, okay? Now, if you're looking for a high-quality selenium supplement, the type you're looking for is selenomethionine. Yes, I know, it's a mouthful. You can do it in a selenomethionine. You can do it in a selenium glycinate. Anytime that it's bound with an amino acid, it will have better absorption than if it's bound like with an oxide or a sulfate. It's kind of the same thing. So selenomethionine is one of the most popular forms used. My trace mineral uses selenium glycinate for the same reason that all the other ones that I sell are connected to a glycinate. It has to do with absorption. So you want to make sure that the minerals are bound to something that's readily absorbable. We're going to talk about that. Andrea, give me 1 second. So let's talk about where selenium plays a role in the body and what it can help with. On to your question, okay? Number 1, reproduction. Believe it or not, one of the primary benefits of selenium is for reproductive health. Okay, several studies have noted that deficiency in selenium is linked to infertility, miscarriage, preeclampsia, preterm labor, gestational diabetes, and more. In fact, selenium is highly involved in the sperm cycle. So even in men, selenium is very, very important for their fertility as well as women. There was a 2015 study that showed that selenium levels are higher in large, healthy ovarian follicles. As a result, the researchers decided that selenium could perform vital antioxidant functions for the ovaries during later follicular development. Not to mention, it's also highly involved in DNA repair, DNA production, right? So when you're building that baby, that plays a role as well. So reproduction, both in male and female, is a primary role of selenium. Now, probably more recognized and more that you guys have heard about is its role in thyroid function, right? Selenium is highly involved in supporting the thyroid in the conversion of T4 to T3. Is a huge role. So once T4 is made in the thyroid, it has to be released into the body. And when it's released into the body, it's converted into T3, which is an active form of thyroid. It's our metabolically active thyroid. selenium is required in that conversion. So often what I'll see is people will have plenty of T4, or they'll be taking Synthroid or some sort of medication to replenish the T4, but their T3 levels are really low. Why would that happen? Multiple reasons. Any of you who have seen my thyroid lives would understand why, right? It could be hormones, it could be stress, it could be all sorts of things. It could also be a selenium deficiency. If you don't have the minerals needed to convert T4 into T3, you won't. It's one of those driving reactions things, okay? In fact, there are a lot of studies on autoimmune thyroiditis and selenium, so on Hashimoto's specifically. Now, many of you out there have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and I know that because the rates are through the roof, right? I can't remember off the top of my head what proportion of America has Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but it is ridiculously common, and I'm going to guess that most of you out there listening are going to say, me, right? So studies have shown that patients with autoimmune thyroiditis that supplement with selenium for 3 months, they experience reduced thyroid antibody levels and improved thyroid ultrasound features. Why? Selenium plays a role in the immune system, which we're going to get to in a second, okay, in more detail, but autoimmune thyroiditis is an immune reaction, right? It's attacking of your own thyroid. Number 2, it helps convert that T4 into T3. Now, if you want to hear my theory on this, most people who are diagnosed with Hashimoto's are on a T4 supplement, but nobody is checking to see if it's turning into T3. So if you're putting the supplement into the body and it's not able to do what it's supposed to, it's just sitting there hanging out, it's going to convert into the storage form. And when it converts into the storage form, it's going to cause aggravation to the autoimmune. So it's like this ongoing cycle. The thyroid is a well-balanced machine, and everything depends on everything else. So if there's one thing wrong in that assembly line, it will cause a flare of that autoimmunity. That's a very generalized statement, I realize it, and if you have Hashimoto's or a thyroid disorder and you want to learn more about that, check out drpingle.com. I have an article on it. My YouTube channel has a thyroid live, so does Facebook and Instagram. Check it out, and I'll go through the physiology on that. Those of you that want even more information on that, my book, Total Health Turnaround, my program, Total Health Turnaround program, they all go into incredible detail on the thyroid because the thyroid is highly dependent on your levels of stress and your levels of minerals. Even if you ate a zillion Brazil nuts a day, if you are under stress, you're not going to absorb and extract the selenium out of those Brazil nuts and utilize it as well as you could. So thyroid is a huge area where selenium has shown very significant benefit to people with thyroid disorders. In fact, all of the patients in that study where they lowered thyroid antibody levels and improved the ultrasounds with selenium, the patients reported better mood, general well-being, and resulted in improved quality of life. So, additionally, there was a 2011 study revealing that selenium benefits the thyroid by lowering the risk of enlargement. Okay, so anytime you get those enlargement, not necessarily nodules, but one side of the thyroid gets larger than the other, the hypertrophy of it. Low selenium can increase the risk of developing an enlarged thyroid and multiple thyroid nodules. Now, I have a question from someone about what do you do if you don't have a thyroid? Well, I'm going to guess that if you don't have a thyroid, you're probably taking thyroid. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So you still technically have a thyroid because you're putting the thyroid hormone in there. It still has to convert into T3 unless you're taking T3 directly, which I usually recommend and a lot of people do. But if you're putting T4 in, it still needs minerals and nutrition to convert into T3. That thyroid still has to be utilized in other tissues. So it really doesn't change it, and it doesn't change the physiology behind it. The only thing it does is your thyroid won't enlarge or create nodules because you don't have one. But the physiology behind it is absolutely the same, right? If the hormone is there and it's floating around in the blood, it's got to do something, right? So if you're putting Synthroid in, what's it going to do? Is it going to help you or not? So there's many cases of Hashimoto's and of thyroid, whether they have thyroid or not, that are taking thyroid and it's converting the wrong direction, causing more stress on the body. So Right, when you're saying you don't convert well. Exactly. So minerals are required for conversion of thyroid. A good probiotic is required for conversion of thyroid. You need to have good gut flora. You have to have proper sex hormone management, particularly in the estrogens. And you have to have a really good nutritional mineral base. If you don't have those things, the thyroid will convert slower. Not to mention, you need to lower your stress down, because if cortisol is binging all day long, I promise you, it's having an impact on the way that you utilize thyroid. Trisha, if you want more information on that, check out my live on thyroid. Check out all the information I have on my website. I talk about thyroid a lot, something I'm very passionate about. Because it's really not overly complicated. I know it seems that way from the patient, but if you're not looking at everything that the thyroid is impacted by, then you won't get full resolution. So I think many of the problems that occur in thyroid management is that the practitioner is only looking at one aspect of it. Like they're just looking at the medication and the levels, and they're not looking at utilization. So once you have someone looking at utilization, it actually can regulate itself fairly well with great success. So I hope that helps. Okay? Can you take what with the thyroid med, Mary John? Oh. So parathyroid is a different mechanism, but still all benefited by minerals. Okay. All right. So good on thyroid there. I think you might've been asking, on Mary John, and if you can take selenium with thyroid medications. Always check with your doctor. Don't ever just take my social media advice, because I do not know your health history. But in general, of course, trace minerals that would be coming from food are fine to take with medications. There are some restrictions on thyroid medications that you may be aware of, as far as you have to wait a certain amount before you eat, right? But we're talking about minerals that should be included in everybody's healthy diet to keep to keep them available to do their everyday functions, okay? So, but always check with your doctor, because I don't know what your individualized health situation is. In general, though, yes, multivitamins, minerals, those types of things are generally well tolerated with most medications, but always double check. All right, so here's a crazy, you may not know fact about selenium. It helps with dandruff. Anyone with dandruff? I know, what are the odds you're going to admit it on social media, right? All right, so it extends to the health of your skin, specifically your scalp. Okay, now this also I have found, and I don't have a study here to corroborate it or to quote, but I have found that in a lot of cases of psoriasis, particularly when they have a lot of flaking skin on the scalp, trace minerals absolutely help, including selenium, just so you know. But it makes sense, because researchers found that applying selenium topically to the scalp can help control dandruff. And it has to do with the ability of selenium and its antifungal properties. Crazy, right? There was a study on 180 patients with moderate to severe dandruff. 93% of the patients reported significant improvements in dandruff. After 2 months, 88% reported that the improvements remained. Now, this particular study used it topically, but think about using it internally, right? So especially any type of skin irritation, eczema, psoriasis, any type of rash, dandruff, acne, peeling skin, these all require minerals. Our skin requires minerals. It requires minerals to absorb water appropriately. It requires minerals to repair. These are all very important. Same, psoriasis on the skin, same thing. Now, like I said, I didn't pull a study on that to quote today, but I've absolutely recommended and seen success in any skin disorder with the use of general trace minerals and improvement in diet towards the plant-based, mineral-based foods. All right, one of our favorite things to talk about nowadays is the immune system, right? So let's talk a little bit about it. It can benefit the immune system, and this has been known in the scientific and medical communities for a very long time, that having adequate selenium levels are crucial for maintaining optimal immunity. They help to regulate immune responses. They help keep chronic inflammation from overreacting. Studies have shown that selenium positively impacts the barriers to infection in the immune system, while a selenium deficiency impairs their function. So what this means is that selenium has been shown to strengthen the body's epithelial barriers. Okay, so going back to our talk about vitamin A, when we talked about mucous membranes in here, all these pink tissues, these barriers, and how they're supposed to be nice and tight so that bad things can't get in, just little important things can get in. Those are our barriers to protection. Through our nose, through our mouth, in our throat, to our lungs, right? When we breathe a virus or a bacteria or a fungus or poor air quality or whatever in, the first place it lands is in our respiratory tract or in the back of our throat, and that's where it sits, and then it moves from there. So selenium has to do with maintaining those cells, okay, and maintaining them nice and tight, affecting the mucus layer, that can help stop these organisms from getting in and also help us absorb nutrients from our food. Okay, very important. Selenium deficiency, this is in research, selenium deficiency has been linked to a higher risk of contracting viral illnesses such as the flu. Always a good idea to keep all of your minerals. And I'm talking about selenium today, but we've already talked about the importance of zinc. We've talked about the importance of magnesium. I definitely need to do some more lives on some of the others, strontium, boron, manganese, all of these. But all of these trace minerals are so critical. They're so critical to our everyday function. Studies have shown that being deficient in selenium specifically results in greater lung problems in those with the flu than in those who have adequate amount of selenium in their body. Okay, so it's more likely to move to the respiratory tract, which makes sense because it's mucous membrane, right? So the certain things that we take to benefit certain areas of our body, it makes a difference when you have adequate mineral. Lastly, selenium fights oxidative stress. Oxidative stress means that there are these little electrons going around and causing instabilities in all your cells and causing damage. So what does oxidative stress do? It, is responsible, it's behind any type of cell destruction. Cancer is a good example. It's probably the most recognized example. But even things like wrinkles, aging, those are all from cell destruction, elasticity in the skin, things like that. So selenium benefits your body by helping fight oxidative stress. It's an antioxidant. Okay, so it donates an electron to an unstable cell, making it stable. We're all just one big chemistry experiment, right? And we pass these electrons all around, and when there is a cell that is unstable, does not have the right amount of electrons, it steals it from someone else. So selenium has an extra electron, donates it, stabilizes, no problem, okay? Any type of cellular damage is linked to inflammation. Our primary diseases and conditions, particularly here in America, are highly related to inflammation. Diabetes, cardiovascular disease are two of the main ones. When we look at what those do to the body and how they make us more susceptible to illness, it's through the mechanism of inflammation and oxidative stress. So cancer is also linked to oxidative stress and inflammation. So since selenium is a powerful antioxidant, it contributes towards your health in prolonging or trying to catch those types of situations earlier. In fact, studies have shown that supplementing with selenium can help reduce DNA damage and reduce cancer risk, and that is in published studies. There was a 2016 meta-analysis, which is where they look at a variety of studies and they look at the overlaps between them and come to conclusions. They revealed that having high selenium levels was linked to a decreased risk of breast cancer, lung cancer, esophageal cancer, gastric cancer, and prostate cancer. According to a 2019 study, this was on 94 patients with type 2 diabetes that supplemented with 200 micrograms of selenium per day. It helped to improve their glycemic and lipidemic profiles, which means it helped to regulate their blood sugar and lower their cholesterol. That was at 200 micrograms of selenium a day, that study. Okay? Which would be how many Brazil nuts? Probably 4, Not bad. So to review, some of the main benefits of selenium in research: aids reproduction, supports thyroid hormone metabolism, helps control dandruff and other skin issues, supports the immune system, and fights oxidative stress. All from this tiny little mineral, right? For those of you looking for a good mineral, I do have one called Total Mineral at totalhealthapothecary.com. You can also find trace minerals at your local health food store. Okay, so you can talk to your doctor about what's a good brand or what isn't. There are so many. Also needing to put these in your diet. Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, cashews, and such to also fill that selenium requirement. Just looking at some of your notes here. Doing magnesium soaks through the skin. Great. I hope it's helping. Marie, 4 nuts a day is about 200 micrograms or so. I mean, it's pretty hard to eat a lot of Brazil nuts because they're big and they're really filling, but, All right. Mary, any type of skin disorder is always going to benefit from minerals and hydration. Always, which mineral, if there's a deficiency associated. The hard part is when people are like, well, selenium help with this. Well, it kind of depends. Are you deficient in it? If you're not deficient in it and then we give it, it's not going to solve the problem, right? It's not going to necessarily hurt the problem just because you're putting in a good, healthy diet of minerals that you need. But always looking for the cause of any condition is always important. So my goal here with these talks is to teach you a couple things. One, what do these nutrients do? What types of foods contain these nutrients? Why are they important to our body? So that you're well armed to discuss these with your doctor. It doesn't mean that every time you give selenium, the thyroid will miraculously improve. If you already had adequate levels of selenium, your thyroid might be sluggish for a different reason, right? So you always want to look for the cause. Find the cause and then use the resources that have been made available to you. Hopefully a lot of them by me, because that's my passion, but to be able to find the best and easiest and most straightforward solution for your issue. Okay? So thank you to all of you. I really appreciate you all being here. You guys have been so great about sharing and commenting. Please continue to share, especially you guys on Instagram, right? Instagram's a tough animal, man. Facebook is like a sharing machine. Instagram, not so easy. Tag me in your posts if you end up resharing it to your story. I really appreciate it. I love to see the information moving around. Also, we have received many requests to join the Total Health Turnaround private Facebook group for you on Facebook. Hey guys, the only people that can join that group are those that have actually purchased and are doing the program. So if you sent a request for that to join that group and it wasn't accepted, that's why. Now, if you did buy the program and for some reason it's not being accepted, definitely send an email and we'll get you in there. But that is a private group. That is for the people that do the program. So I can't let anyone in there unless you're doing the program. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Didn't want you to think I was forgetting you. May not apply over here on Instagram. Sorry about that. But anyway, all of you have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. And I do not believe I will be here Friday this week. I do have an appointment, but I will be here tomorrow back at my normal time. You guys have any questions, any topics, please let me know. And please like, share, forward, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.